Hello and welcome to the Josh and Tyler Show. I'm here with Tyler and I'm Josh. How are you, Tyler?
I'm doing just fine, thanks. How about you?
Oh, it's morning. We're doing our thing, even though this debut's at night, so that's okay.
I'm sure that
Um,
everybody will notice.
oh, I think everyone noticed because there's more light in these videos than all the other ones that debut at noon. So,
Plus, they can tell that you just woke up.
yes, I'm usually just waking up this time of day. So today we've got a Nicole Kidman double feature, Lion and Destroyer. So Tyler, are you a Nicole Kidman fan?
Nicole Kidman is kind of hit and miss for me. I don't mind her as an actress, and she's definitely given great performances, as everybody has pointed out. She's done some underrated stuff that nobody's seen, like Rabbit Hole, or one or two of the movies that we're about to talk about here, or even Boy Erased. That's personally my favorite performance of hers
Oh
because
yeah,
the arc
fair.
that she goes through, it's the kind of character that you wouldn't normally see in a movie with that kind of subject matter. Every parent who is instantly against a gay kid never changes. But this movie was more honest in that, some parents do. It might not
Mhm.
happen as often as we'd like it to, but when they do, you gotta take their word for it. You gotta let them in. So that
That's
part
Russell Crowe
was,
and Joel Edgerton, right? With
yeah, Joel Edgerton directed it. I liked his first movie, The Gift, but Boy Erased was significantly
who was
better
the
because
kid? Was
it's,
that Lucas Hedges or whatever, or who was that kid?
yes. Yeah, it was
Okay,
Luke
my
Hedges.
brain is like I've seen this movie, but I can't remember who's exactly in it.
See, I saw it at TIFF in 2018, and Luke Hedges had this, and he had Ben is Back with Julia
Oh, I like
Roberts.
Ben is Back a lot more.
And Ben is Back also had a little bit of competition with Beautiful Boy, where Steve Carell and Timothy Chalamet,
That's a good
basically
one
another
too.
parent-child relationship about drug addiction. So those two were kind of head and head, but Beautiful Boy won out because, Steve Carell, Timothy Chalamet, plus it was a great movie.
I sort of like both of them. I'm really not like partial towards
I
either. I
haven't
think they're both pretty
seen
good.
I haven't seen Ben is Back, so I can't really compare, but
I think Julia
still.
Roberts gives a great performance in it. It's a pretty good little movie.
See, Nicole Kidman, I have a lot more respect than Julia Roberts because Julia Roberts is a studio favorite. She does all those basic
Hmm.
rom coms and once in a while the inspirational dramas. I feel like Kidman takes more chances with her career, and sometimes those chances don't work. Like when she plays it safe in Bewitched, and someone seriously thought, "Hey, let's put Nicole Kidman in a rom com with Will Ferrell." Those two will hit it off,
Well, I
right?
mean, she did start in rom-coms though, because she was in Pretty Woman and she was in Notting Hill, and that was like her thing for a while there. But you gotta give her Aaron Brockovich for sure and Closer.
That's one. That's
Again,
one.
she
Yeah.
also did My Best Friend's Wedding. So, yeah, you got all these rom-coms on her resume. She's a rom-com star.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's perfectly serviceable. The fact that she got nominated for Pretty Woman, that was interesting.
I mean, when you get to some of her Oscar bait movies like August Osage County, I don't care. I don't
She was
care.
okay in that. She wasn't one of the best parts. That was like Meryl Streep and Chris Cooper, Margot Martindale,
Yeah,
and a
I don't
couple
love this movie.
others.
It's Oscar bait for me, like straight up
Oh, it
Oscar bait.
was like
Like, not saying it couldn't be
enjoyable.
good, but I feel like they were trying so hard to win an Oscar, they forgot to make a good movie.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely true. But not gonna lie, the effort that they're putting on screen, it's hard to ignore.
But I guess she's got the Oceans trilogy and Eat, Pray,
That's
Love.
true.
So,
Well, she's got Oceans 11 and 12. I love it in 13. They
hmm.
can't even justify a reason to put her in there. So they're just like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know if I
it's not their
love
fight.
Ocean's 12, where Julia Roberts has to pretend she's not Julia Roberts and impersonate Julia Roberts. That sort of loses me.
It was a weird moment, especially when Bruce Willis just randomly walks in. That part was.
Yeah.
I love it when Toulour looks at her after they won. And it's just like, oh, by the way, you don't even look like her. I just sat there and went, of course, they had to throw that in there.
Yeah, Ocean's 12 sort of lost me a bit there. Not that I don't hate it. I've watched it. I don't
I'd
love it
rather
as much
watch
as the other
Ocean's
ones.
12 than Ocean's 8, if I'm being completely honest,
I
because at
mean,
least things
Ocean's 8
happen.
wasn't terrible. I'd say it's about as good as Ocean's 12 because like it has a bunch of charismatic stars, but the plot doesn't live up to what I expected.
Well, I mean, in Ocean's 12, at least there is a plot and a conflict with the villain. In Ocean's 8, he's in like, I don't know, two or three scenes. I don't think he even talks to Sandra Bullock more than once.
It's the same problem with Die Hard 5. So
Among a few other sequels,
yeah,
but
Good Day to
yeah,
Die Hard, they barely talk to the villain. It's just sort of like they're disconnected. So
they didn't even know he was the villain. That was the stupid part about it.
they're just sort of doing things. Things are happening.
Yeah,
That's
when did twist villains become a cliche? I mean,
I
really,
don't know. I
I blame
mean,
Pixar.
I guess like Taken 3 did that, which is bad.
I haven't seen Taken 3. I just saw the fence hopping and just went, nope.
Have you seen The Fugitive? Harrison Ford.
Yes, and I have heard that Take 3 and is The Fugitive.
So yeah, they just sort of make their own version of that.
Nice.
So Forrest Whitaker is running around with a chess piece going, "Oh, I don't know if he's bad or not. Chess piece, chess piece, chess piece." It's weird. I may own it. But anyway, yeah, I think Nicole Kidman may be a little underrated. I myself never really considered her because like when I thought of Nicole Kidman movies, like there was Far, Far and Away, and I was like, I don't give a crap about that movie.
Is that which
Tom
one's
Cruise
that?
one.
Are they racing or is there?
No, they come over from Ireland or whatever. It's like a period piece.
Oh, right.
And
Yeah.
it was fine. Like there was nothing wrong with it. I just really didn't care. I know that sounds bad, but I just did not care for that movie. And then you've got Moulin Rouge. Don't care.
Moulin Rouge has a few redeeming qualities. I wouldn't say the performances are one of them because it's Baz Luhrmann. He blows it up way out of proportion. And I don't know how he did with Australia, which also has Kidman and Hugh Jackman, but I've heard better things about it.
I mean, then you got Dogville, which is super weird, which I don't care about. The Interpreter.
I actually want to check out Dogville just based on how weird it is.
It's weird.
I hate Lars von Trier as a person, but
super strange.
Yeah.
And then you got The Interpreter, which is okay. And I watched that on VHS back in the day, like it just didn't blow my mind. And I was like,
she failed big time with the Stepford Wives remake, although in all honesty, that was going to fail anyways.
My favorite Nicole Kidman performance before today, because I think that she's great in Destroyer, was Batman Forever, because I just did not care.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I thought she was fun in that movie. Like, it was a fun movie. I like Batman Forever.
It's got its moment.
Eyes Wide Shut never did it for me because I've never been a Kubrick guy. Like, I like some of his stuff, but I'm just not huge into Kubrick. That's just not who I am.
I haven't seen Eyes Wide Shut either. I think that'll probably be in my next Christmas series because I kept procrastinating to do it last year.
So yeah, it's just like this is different. This is different for me. So let's jump into. We'll start with Lion because this one came out first. So what are your thoughts on 2016's Lion, directed by Garth Davis?
Okay, so for those who don't know, Lion is actually based off of a true life story about a man named Saru who was separated from his family in India, and eventually he made his way to an orphanage where he got adopted by an Australian couple played by Nicole Kidman and David Wenham. And about halfway through into the movie, once he becomes a grown adult played by Dev Patel, he discovers Google Earth and decides as best as he can to try and retrace his steps, all the while trying to hide it from his adoptive family and maybe not involve his girlfriend Rooney Mara in the mix. And I don't know, this is kind of a mixed bag for me personally. There are a lot of good things going about it. For starters, the cinematography looks absolutely gorgeous. India, even in the poorest of locations, actually looks kind of stunning in a poetic way. It's really hard to describe. There are a lot of overhead shots just because this is a story revolving around Google Earth. You want to look as if you're trying to observe the same way Saru is while he's trying to retrace his steps. And a couple of the performances are decent. People really freaked out when Dev Patel got nominated for Best Supporting Actor, and they're just like, why? He plays the main character. And having finally seen the movie, I think I know why. And this is one of the things I do like about this movie. The first half of the film is Saru as a little kid, played by, I have no idea how to say this kid's name. I think it's Sunny Pawar.
That sounds pretty right, yeah.
One of those. The first half is entirely from his perspective. We get to see a little bit of his childhood with his family, the circumstances in which to the best of his memory how he got separated and so on. And that takes up almost an hour of the movie. And
Yeah.
I liked it because it's so unconventional. Usually in a standard studio movie, he would start off as an adult and then we would get flashbacks or an extended sequence and go back and forth. I like that they told this as chronologically as possible. When he starts using Google Earth, they take the cliched route of going back and forth, showing stuff that we hadn't actually seen before. And I felt like that was kind of a huge cop out. But at the same time, I can't imagine how else they would have weaved those flashback sequences in to begin with. And then, as I just mentioned, halfway through, that's when Dev Patel shows up. And a lot of people do think that Sonny Paywar is the star of the show because the darkest shit happens to him. So that's kind of my theory as to why Patel got Best Supporting Actor, just because he wasn't in it as much in comparison to the other kid playing Saru.
Well, what for Moonlight? What did Mahershala Ali get, lead or supporting?
Ali got supporting, and he won that year. That was his first win.
Okay, so then I can see why they would go with that. They would sort of go off this. Yeah, I think this movie is quite charming. It's got some very beautiful cinematography, as you said, some very slow moving shots. But again, this is a slow movie, so if you're into slow movies, this is for you. That's the interesting
thing. I'm into slow movies, but for whatever reason, the pacing just dragged on and on and on, especially after he does get separated. And my sister went and saw this movie back when it came out. She went and saw it, but my dad and I were in the next door theater watching John Wick 2. And when I asked her about it, because I wanted to check it out, she said that it was good, but in her opinion, didn't have enough dialogue. And I just sat there and went, well, that's instantly for me, because most folks know me. I'm a pretty visual guy. I like when movies take their time in order to delve into the characters. But because the plot and the character depth are so simplistic, but they spend a lot of time on Saru walking from one place to another as silently and as emotionless as possible. That was the big problem I had with Paywar's performance. There are so many times where he should look horrified, scared, or sad, but he has this blank face that seems like he's used to getting this lost. And for all I know, maybe he could, but I didn't think the movie emphasized that a lot. I get that they have those couple scenes where he's supposed to be looking after his little sister, but he goes with his older brother anyways, and that's how he gets lost and everything. But that was only one scene, and that wasn't even relevant to the plot for at least a minute. So I didn't think that was really enough to buy the fact that he could get so accustomed to living on the street or living amongst strangers, because the one sequence where he's taken in by a woman and then it turns out she has some devious intentions, it turns out that was actually a real life thing that happened to him too. And the fact that even he at age 6 noticed that something was up, you got to give this kid credit, because part of the reason it took so long for him to retrace his steps was because since he was a little kid, he got a lot of stuff about his own life wrong. And that part felt realistic without being super contrived. But it just goes on. There are so many scenes that felt repetitive where he sees one location, he observes it, and because kid has such a blank stare, we don't really know what he's thinking, and then just move on to the next scene, rinse and repeat. I was a little more invested with Dev.
I think I'm the opposite here. I enjoyed him exploring the world. I like the pacing all the way up till he leaves the orphanage. I think the later part of the film didn't do as much for me as I thought, because I like the relationship between him and Godu, or however he says that, Gudu. I think that actor did a really good job, and I like him sort of just trying to discover what's happening around him. I think there's that level of discovery, and I think that really works for me, as opposed to the encounters he comes along the way. Yes, they could get a bit repetitive for sure, but I do like the real life one you're mentioning there, where he realizes it's a trap basically. And then I do think that the encounter at the orphanage, I think that was a little brief. I would have liked just a little bit more of that, because he's just he shows up and they're like, hey, we'll get you a family. We couldn't find yours. And then he talks to some other kid and he's like, I got a family. And they're like, oh, that's cool. And then he has a family. And that's sort of like the whole, I think that orphanage is one of the more fascinating settings.
Here's the thing. When they established that friendship with the girl, did you think that was going to come back later? Because I seriously thought that she was going to show up by coincidence.
It would be logical that it would come back later, but she was just sort of a one-off line.
Which, don't get me wrong, is more realistic. But at the same time, even though it's a true life story, we're still watching a work of fiction. I felt like they could take one or two liberties there, and it probably wouldn't have pissed off the real Saru barely, right? Because as far as I know, I don't think he actually had a problem with the way he was portrayed in this movie. I'd have to look a little
that's
bit
another
deeper.
thing. I think that was one of my biggest issues with the film. Like I saw Dev Patel, he runs around, he does his thing. I think he did fine. I think the kid did great. I think the kid was kid actors are hard to come by, so if they can do a decent job, that's amazing because kids don't
Yeah, and that's why I feel bad
them.
complaining about his performance, because chances are that was his first time, and everyone has to start somewhere, so I don't really blame him in any regard.
Dev Patel, when they showed him doing his thing, and I'm like, okay, but then they show like the real life person, and it looks nothing like Dev Patel, and I'm like, you couldn't get someone who looks like the actual guy. Like Dev Patel is like a completely different human being than the actual main guy.
I'm not terribly concerned about that, to be completely honest.
It's so weird. I'm like, who's that? I'm like, oh, that's the real person. When the mother looked like it and the sister looked like it, but the main guy, they're like, nah, we got to make them Hollywood look. We got a Hollywood.
Pretty sure this is a British Australian movie. I'm not even sure if America had anything to do with this.
Well, like Dev Patel is such like he's got like the proper face and the right hair and he's got proper makeup. And then they're like, oh, you're the real guy? Just go on screen. We didn't do any prep for you. Just go do that.
I'd like to point out that Joseph Gordon-Levitt looks nothing like Edward Snowden. And even though he puts on an accent, doesn't even sound like Snowden. That part pissed me off.
I did not really enjoy Snowden. We played that at the Princess and it didn't blow my mind.
It was okay. It was just run-of-the-mill Oliver Stone.
Oliver Stone is hit and miss for me, but I like the imagery in this. I love the imagery of the railroad tracks and the way they shot it. I think it was really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would just like to see more at this orphanage, man. I thought you could spend a little less time wandering and more time at this orphanage before he got adopted to show how important this family was to him. So when he was
also what orphans go through, because this did not look like an orphanage, and they don't hide the fact that it's kind of operated like a prison, and the bedroom is more of a cell. There are quote unquote officers. I'm not sure who they are, but they have sticks and they walk them around like they're being sent to the warden. And I just sat there and I went, the fuck is wrong with you people? They're fucking kids. They're not even that unruly. I mean, sure, there was that one kid, and there's a callback to that when we get to experience his adoptive brother's perspective, where he's having a lot of trouble adjusting, because yes, he is being sent to a good home, but the memories of all the tragic stuff that happened to him are still there, and that's not something you can instantly erase. You can try to deal with it through love and support, and Patel obviously has a tough time with that, because even though he knows there were some aspects from his old home that did kind of suck, he still felt like his brother was taking it out on everybody when he didn't deserve it. So it explains why he had a tough relationship with his brother, but they don't justify it, because eventually he does have to make up with him in the end. And I like the guy who played the brother. He wasn't in it a ton, but they summed up what he was going through in a short enough amount of time, and it led to a pretty standard family freak out over dinner. Because, quote, spoilers, if you ever see people have dinner at a movie during a movie, it doesn't end well.
There are certain cliches in movies that I can see coming a mile away, and I don't want to see them.
Some of them I kind of can. It depends. If there's a dinner freak out during a movie, it sometimes depends over whether or not I actually like the characters or I want to know what's going on.
And for me, when it got to this dinner freak out, like Nicole Kidman's hair is terrible. I don't know what happened there. You were saying Little Orphan Annie. I was saying Eraserhead. Like, it looks so fake. Well, it's not real in any capacity. Like, what the heck? Just how neatly curly it is, and the fact that it's red. It reminded me of the John Huston Annie, because it looked like the wig they slapped on that little girl, because even in Annie, that didn't even look like that girl's hair. It looks more convincing on a little girl than a grown woman.
Well, yeah,
and then you have his girlfriend, who I don't mind. I don't really care about Rooney Mara. I've never been.
She wasn't in it enough. They didn't. I get that they gave her details about having a dead parent, so there's a little bit of that separation from family that her and Patel can kind of relate to, but they don't delve into it enough, because again, they follow the real life story so closely, where he probably caused a rough patch in the relationship. Whether or not he actually did make up with her in the end,
that's a good question.
I'm not entirely sure, but
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I mean,
this
Rooney Mara's best performance is Carol, but other than that, I mean, I just don't love her as an actress. Just doesn't
mine
do
is
anything for
actually
me.
Dragon Tattoo. I kind of
That's
prefer
fair.
her over Numi Rapace.
I mean, I just think just a, there's just so many just actresses in Hollywood. You got to be something special to stand out these days. You got to have some sort of
Yeah.
movie that no one else can do, and I just feel like anyone else could have swapped in for Rooney Mara in this movie. You could have literally had anyone in that role, and it would have made a huge difference because there's not a lot for this character to do.
Yeah, it felt like Kidman and Wenham were the only necessary cast members because they're actually Australian. But at the same time, we were talking about this before recording that this isn't our favorite performance of
No.
hers. And a part of me thinks it's because she's not really in it all that much. Like when she's introducing Saru to the new home and she becomes so affectionate towards him, those scenes were key because you really didn't have to do much. You just had to think about what it's like for an adoptive parent to treat someone that they've never met before but want to love them so much and just not say anything, just do the actions. And she's great in that regard. But when they pull the, oh, your mother is sick routine, I just sat there and I went, did this real life aspect really have to be incorporated into the movie?
It's very dramatic near the end. I like
Well,
his
it would be
university.
dramatic if they did more than just whisper, because that's the other thing. She tries to be so low key that it's a lot less believable because in certain circumstances, like the dinner freak out, she should have been a lot more upset with what Saru was doing.
I didn't mind the university bit, but they went by it so fast. I feel like I didn't really understand why he was at university except to meet the girl. It seemed like a convenience so they could give him some friends so they could say Google Earth. Like it just seemed like a setup for me. And then him searching I thought was unique to a point. But I don't love Dev Patel. People love this man. I mean, he's okay.
I don't mind him.
What is so great about Dev Patel? I don't get it.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, Slumdog Millionaire is obviously the better performance when you put the two of them together. There were obviously some similarities, but the difference is you actually get to experience the flashbacks alongside him. Whereas in this one, the flashbacks are the first half of the movie, and then his perspective is the second. So in Slumdog Millionaire, the whole nonlinear going back and forth thing actually worked a lot more to its advantage. Plus, a lot of people like him in Skins or Best Exotic Marigold. He was actually really good in that Aaron Sorkin show, The Newsroom, with Jeff Daniels.
Oh, that's right. He was in there.
And even though dude was the biggest celebrity out of all of them, he was more of a side character. And I think that worked the best in regards to his performance because he was just trying to be as invisible as everybody else. Just let Jeff Waterston, Emily Mortimer, and Sam Waterston, let them be the forefront, even though he was in the Best Picture Oscar. He just wants to be seen as a regular actor like everybody else. So in terms of career choices, I think that was a good choice. And also, the last new thing I saw him in was David Copperfield. I saw that at
That
TIFF,
is a garbage film. I don't understand that movie.
It's okay. I like that they went for a more comedic approach with a Charles Dickens movie. I hadn't seen that since Mickey's Christmas Carol, because in a way that is still kind of a comedy. It's just, it moves at such a quick pace and explains way too much. Also, not enough Hugh Laurie because he was the best part.
And then
Tilda
Swinton
Swinton
with
was
the donkeys
hilarious.
amused me, but the rest of the movie, I just do not care about the British hierarchy whatsoever. It just does nothing for me. I just don't need rich people running around in carriages and talking fancy. It does. I'm just like, I'm really good.
That's the Charles Dickens thing. He gets you to hate the rich people so much and root for the poor people more. It's every single Charles Dickens story is
But
like a
here's the
rags to
thing.
riches.
I love the
type of
book,
thing.
and the book is similar to this, but I just don't think this is a good adaptation.
A friend that I made in the lineup for this summed it up best, where it's just like, it's a good thing this was the first one that we saw that year, because after that it would just get a hell of a lot better or worse, depending on Friday the 13th, where I saw legitimately sorry, a hiccup there.
Oh, that's
the worst movie I have ever seen in my life. Number 7, Cherry Lane. Do not look it up. Do not even say its name. Treat it like the Bye Bye Man. Don't say it. Don't think it. Don't do it.
I mean, I've probably seen a lot worse movies, but I intentionally go out and look for bad movies, so that's my own fault.
Don't waste your time on this one. I beg of you.
Like, it's got to be so bad it's good, like so
No,
ridiculous. It's
no, it is not. I almost fell asleep. If I fell asleep, it would have spared me from the rest of this shit.
Like, that's how I feel like when I start a Criterion, you really got to grab me or I'm turning you off after half an hour because I'm so bored with some Criterions. They just move so slow. And I'm just like, I cannot with you today. But some of them, like, you got to have a character I love. And I think for me, the first hour of Lion here, boom, I love that first hour. And then I'm just like, yeah, the rest is okay. I mean, of course, I was excited when he was reunited with his family. Like, everyone's excited about that part.
It's hard not to enjoy a scene like that to begin with.
I just think they brushed over too much of his life. I think it would have been better if they hyper focused on just his childhood and say he got reunited, like with a little text box on it, or they focused on the latter.
I don't know. That would have felt
had less of the younger kid and fleshed out his older life, because I think they had two characters and they weren't able to flesh out both to really expand on it. And I think that's the movie is trying to do too much. I think it's got what I call Moonlight syndrome, where they have a great story, but if they had spent one half of on just the character when they were younger or older, when they were learning about who they are, you have a stronger film because you don't have to jump timelines so much.
I would have preferred a movie where it was just the first act of Moonlight, because that was when it hooked me the most. And then Mahershala left, and my parents keep complaining that he was only in it for 15 minutes. And it's just like, it's not how long he's in it. It's what he does in those 15 minutes. And what he does is hands down maybe the best stuff he's done. It's either that or True Detective, because he was excellent in True Detective.
I mean, I really like Mahershala Ali in Green Book, but we got Dev Patel. He's going to be in The Green Knight next. And everyone is excited.
I'm looking forward to that.
Everyone is excited about this movie. I don't even know what it is. I don't understand it. What is it? Is it a drama? Is it a historical piece? Is it an action movie? Why is
medieval?
It green?
Hold on. It's medieval fantasy. So Dev Patel plays this arrogant nephew of King Arthur, and he goes up against this giant creature known as the Green Knight. It's as dark fantasy horror as you can possibly get, and it comes to us from David Lowery, who made Ain't Them Bodies Saints, The Old Man and the Gun, A Ghost Story, and the Pete's Dragon remake. So he's as indie and artsy of an independent filmmaker as you could possibly get. And he's also doing Peter Pan and Wendy for Disney Plus, which I'm looking forward to. I have a couple of casting reservations. Like, I'm not digging Jim Gaffigan as Mr. Smee. That just...
I can sort of see that.
I don't know. I saw him in Luca yesterday, and Luca is a really good film. I think it's better than some people are making it out to be. But him and Maya Rudolph as Luca's overprotective parents, who are basically just King Triton but a married couple, they got old at like in the first scene. I just couldn't deal with them.
Well, I mean, medieval. I don't know. The trailers just the one thing I like about it is the trailers give me nothing. But the trailers don't give me enough to want to see the movie.
I don't know. It has that image. It has that puppet show thing where the puppet gets beheaded, and I just sat there and went, "Oh, okay, you guys are really going that far. I'm on."
It's just visual imagery, but it doesn't tell me like anything.
Yeah, but for me, that's the best kind of A24 trailer, because I mean, the great thing about A24 is they're usually good at surprising you, because they'll go places no studio won't. They usually give filmmakers as much control as possible. Sometimes they don't, because I mean, Ari Aster wanted Midsommar nearly 3 hours, and they're just like, we want to give you this support, but I mean, theaters won't give us enough showings if that's like a 3-hour movie.
So they supported him eventually.
Yeah, and honestly, I almost went to the Princess to see it, but my friends who had a metal band, they were actually performing across the street that night at the White Rabbit. So
nice. The one thing about it's called the Green Knight, but the poster is yellow and red. Why is it not green? What the hell?
Hey, the Green Knight is the villain. Okay.
So is he the Yellow Knight? Because it's yellow on the poster. Is he the red?
I can't tell if you're being an ass on purpose.
No, I just don't understand. Color association is important.
Not all the damn time. I get that some movie posters tend to ignore the plot details. Like, there's only so many posters that have a Criterion feel. Hell, your Saving Grace poster has a Criterion feel.
We wanted to relate it to the film. But no, I just Like
Here, I'll look it
Lion,
up.
like for Lion, the poster for Lion has all the colors and stuff you see in the film. But in the trailer, everything you see in the trailer is not on the poster for the Green Knight. It's different
Oh,
colors, a
come
different
on.
color palette, a different feel. I'm just like, why are you advertising it differently than it is? It should be the
Well,
same
if the
feel as the
Green Knight
trailer.
is the villain and you're supposed to root for the main character,
I'm rooting for the Green
it's
Knight.
fucking he's holding a green axe in the poster, man. And that axe probably
we
belongs to
we
the
got
Green
the
Knight.
poster in at the Princess, but it's just a red and a yellow one.
Let me guess, like the letters are yellow and the
Yeah, the
background's
Green
red,
Knight in
right?
yellow with
Yeah,
a red background.
he's holding the Green Knight's green axe in the forefront.
I don't know why it's red or yellow. Anyway, Lion, I think
Because he's the villain, and we're not supposed to root for the villain. We're supposed to root for the hero.
But like the Joker
Yushi
movie has been
Prince
telling
who
us to root
has
for
to
the
learn his
villain all
lesson.
along. So
this is what we argue about in our spare time, folks. I'm just letting you know that in advance.
We argue about silly things. So I think Lion's good. I've seen this about 4 or 5 times now. I like it. I think I think on this watch, because I hadn't seen it since it came out, really, because I watched it a bunch in theaters because we had technical issues with it, so I had to sit and watch the movie to make sure it didn't crap out. So that's why I saw it a bunch. I think that the imagery is good. I think that the acting is really great for the first part, but I think that there's a lot of miscast characters and just a lot of brushed over storytelling, and that happens with any biopic when you try to tell the entire life story of someone. It's fine. I give it a 3 out of 5. I think it's good. I just don't think it blows my mind as it did when I first saw it.
I think I'd go for a 2.5 out of 5 because there is a lot to admire on a technical achievement. And even though some actors don't always fit with the roles they're given, they still give it everything they can. And there's a lot more subdued emotions in this movie than you would expect with a story like this. And maybe that can work a little too much to its disadvantage because sometimes you do want a little bit of inspiration porn in there somewhere. Not a lot, but at least enough to understand what everybody's going through.
Yeah, it's a very indie movie for sure. So the other one we have here, I'm excited to talk about this one. I never saw this. I didn't know anything about it. You said, let's watch the story. I'm like, okay. You said, hey,
yeah,
like the monster type performance from Charlize Theron. I'm like, okay, let's go. So I put this on. I'm like, okay, she's a cop. It's a revenge tale. I'm watching this thing. I'm like, holy crap, this is a great movie.
Yeah, this whole double feature was kind of sort of an excuse for me to check this out because after we watched The Invitation, and The Destroyer was one of those movies at TIFF that at my first year of going, I missed out on. I hadn't even heard of it. I was too busy trying and failing to get tickets for Widows, which had a very similar crime thriller vein to it. But I think this one might be, I don't know which one I prefer more, Widows or this, because Widows balanced so many characters but gave them all a 3-act arc. But this one, Nicole Kidman is so outstanding, and the direction is, in my opinion, a hell of a lot better, that I think it stands out a lot more. Because the most obvious and one of the most outstanding things about this movie is the Destroyer herself, Nicole Kidman. She is unrecognizable in her performance. When I look at her, I don't think that she's Nicole Kidman. I think she's Charlize Theron from Monster, because the hair and the makeup makes her look just as physically disheveled and erratic in her behavior, especially when she's trying and failing so often to drink all of her problems away based on everything that she's dealt with in the flashback sequences that we watch throughout this entire thing. But the movie knows good and hell well that we know what the flashbacks are going to portray. So they wisely focus on how much it's affected her to the point where she tries to prevent her daughter from making the exact mistakes she does, calling her out for the same mistakes that she made the day before, just to make sure her daughter doesn't turn out like her, and right as many wrongs as possible by forming her own investigation. She is your standard hard-boiled detective. There's really no surprises in what she does, but it's just how far she's willing to go, how many rules she's willing to break, that makes her not the most likable character, but definitely the most investing character out of all of them.
Yeah, it's alcoholic Nancy Drew. So how Nancy Drew ended up when she gets older, because, you can't solve mysteries forever as a teen. Eventually you got to be a cop, and eventually they're going to tell you no, and this is what happens.
Can Emma Roberts come back as a drunken Nancy Drew? I would much prefer that over the other one she did.
But yeah, Sebastian Stan is really good in this. I like his performance for the limited screen time he has.
Yeah, that was one of the big problems. This is his best performance, not counting Bucky, but dude barely gets anything to do, which is kind of important because he's super crucial to the emotional impact of the film, especially when the flashbacks come to a head. And the one problem I do have with The Destroyer is that even though I knew the stars were going to be Nicole Kidman and the director Karin Kusama, who directed The Invitation that we talked about a couple weeks ago, even though I knew they were going to be at the forefront and the side characters would still get the shaft, I still wanted to see a few more of these side characters. I mean, Toby Kebbell is really good as the villain. He gets the shine based on how far he's willing to go in order to manipulate people to do his bidding. But Kebbell is always cast as a villain. He can kind of do those things in his sleep, but he still has a great sequence involving Russian roulette that sums up his motivations and also how sadistic he is as a person in one scene. And it was super suspenseful. I don't know how you felt about that.
I enjoyed the scenes very much when they did the flashback showing the previous gang and what they were doing. I think we got just the right amount. I think any more would have been too much. I think we don't need to know a ton about that. We just need to know enough. And I like the sort of path it takes where we see the past and then Nicole Kidman's character basically has to go and revisit that past to get answers to figure out what happened because she doesn't have all the pieces of the puzzle. And I like that. I think this movie starts off well. I like the way this movie starts off with her visiting the crime scene, talking to the detectives and sitting in the car.
Yeah,
and the movie seems to flow naturally from there. But that is not the way the movie is conceived. They did a really good job of being like, here's what the movie is, but this is what you think it is. And I like that. I like that they were able to do that so seamlessly.
When we realize
you can do that without, you can do like, I'll call it the end is where we begin principle. Where they're like, oh, look at this. This is the end of the movie. And it's so clearly obvious that it's somewhere else in the movie, like in John Wick, where he's all beat up and crashes a car or any of these. And you're like, oh, that is clearly what happens in the middle. And I don't mind that a lot of the time. But with this, I did not know that. And I like that.
And when they revealed it, I just sat there. I went,
good filmmaking there. I mean, I know you love The Invitation, but I think this is better.
Because they transition from scene to scene like it was chronological. It is so good at tricking you. And again, these are the same guys that made The Invitation. And as I said before, they also co-wrote the ride-alongs that just... These guys get screwed over by the studio system. I love that I prefer when they make indie movies because they're a lot more in control of what they do. And you're right, Kidman's performance is fantastic. I like that even though she's just as disheveled, she barely raises her voice. I think there are like one or two scenes where she screams, but the rest of the time she's so physically and emotionally broken down that her voice kind of reflects the state of mind that she's in, even when she's trying to intimidate her daughter's boyfriend, who every time he's on screen, such a fucking scumbag.
Oh yeah, he's not a nice guy.
No, and clearly reminds you of Kebbell just based on the smile and the douchey hair and everything.
Like my question is like, and I know they don't give a lot of detail, is why did she date this guy in the first place? Is she trying to get back at her mom or something? Like, I don't get it.
Probably.
Because like, I don't know. My best thought.
I don't know how this would affect the dad played by Scoot McNairy, because Scoot McNairy is an underrated actor, really and I kind of wish that. And I kind of wish that he was in it a little bit more because, again, he was excellent in the Mahershala True Detective, and I'm hoping that he gets a little more credit after this because dude was in A Quiet Place for a couple minutes and you didn't even know it was him. I mean, the scene was kind of dark, but
this movie also gave us Tatiana Maslany from Perry Mason, who plays Sister Alice McKeegan.
Wait, Maslany was in this?
Yeah, she plays Petra.
Really?
Yeah, she's the amazing one from Perry Mason that we all remember because she steals every damn scene she's in.
She does. Oh, fuck. How did I miss that?
And I was immediately like, I know you. I know you. That was my thought process. So she doesn't have a lot to do in this film. Like, she has a few scenes, but the few scenes she has, she owns every scene. Even where she's in the background, she owns those scenes. So that was awesome there. And then the rest of the gang is pretty cool. But I love how when they go on the revenge path, like nothing in this movie is in chronological order at all. but it all feels like it's in chronological order. And that's
It
the
does.
best part. If you're going to
Yeah.
make a movie that's not in order, make it feel like it is. That's what you want to do. That's what you want to do when you mess with the timeline. Because then when the audience realizes, crap, that was this, that's how you do that. That's how you mess with the audience's mind, because it's more, I think it's more impactful that way if you think it's in order and then it's not. But I mean, the first couple Revenges, I was just like, this is like she's trying to track him down. It's got a very Kill Bill vibe. She's trying to get from point A to point B, trying to find Bill, or in this case, the leader dude, Toby Kebbell.
Silas. Yeah.
Silas. And I think that all the places she visits, she sort of feels like she belongs. I think that's a very interesting thing, because everywhere she goes, like, it doesn't seem out of place for her to be there. And I thought that was very, very interesting. So she's like one of them anyway.
I wouldn't go as far as that, because there are a couple scenes that do call attention to her being a lady cop. Like when she goes to the terminally ill guy and he requests a certain favor in exchange for information. That scene was probably the most fucked up scene in the entire movie, just based on the difference between the two of them. And you can see the look in her eyes that she's just disgusted in him, but also kind of takes pity on the fact that he doesn't really have that much time left, and
enjoy your last
just throws her hands in the air and goes, fuck it, you're not gonna remember this in a few days or whatnot. But there's that. And there's also the cameo with Bradley Whitford where he really tries to take advantage of the differences between him and her. I wasn't a big fan of him in the cameo because he felt super out of place in terms of tone and dialogue. I get that he's rich and all the other characters in the movie are either average or trailer trash, but at the same time, he talks like he's in a Tarantino movie as opposed to a Karin Kusama flick. And the way that she, in the end, tries to outsmart him was strictly based on a couple of minor conveniences, but the end result of that scene was still pretty effective. He got exactly what was coming to him.
I really like this sequence. I like the setup in the house and him using his power and authority. And I like him yelling at his son. That adds a lot of character to him. And then all of a sudden,
I thought that was desperate.
Pistol whipped, and she's like, "Where's the information? Let's go." I like that scene. I think it's really, really great.
It had good parts to it. I just felt that he was too over the top. Him yelling at his son over baseball, I just sat there and went, really? During this conversation of all things? I get that they're trying to show how he's not intimidated by her and just sees her as a regular client and whatnot, but I didn't think it worked as well to its advantage. But Karin Kusama, she already impressed me as a director with The Invitation, but I was a little more invested in the style that she incorporates into this one, because this was where I really realized what kind of style she has as a director. Just like with The Invitation, she crafts a lot of shots in deep focus where characters and certain plot details are in the foreground and the background. So you're constantly looking back and forth like she is, feel like you're being in the detective's shoes. And there were two things that I kept noticing every time a scene was filmed in Aaron's perspective. Whenever there's just a standard coverage shot of her, she's either at the far left of the corner, and the dead center and right has all this negative space. So you feel the amount of isolation and loneliness she experiences, even among company. And the other is that there are a lot of tracking shots that follow her from behind, almost as if we're spying on her the exact same way she used to spy on other criminals when she was undercover. And the bank robbery sequence in the middle was super suspenseful. I was actually waving my fists going, come on, go, during all the anticipation before the actual robbery happened. She sees them grab their guns, pull the masks, get the getaway car, and she opens up her own trunk and pulls out a machine gun rifle. And I just sat there and went, how the fuck are you going to cover your own tracks? And she goes, off-duty officer responding. And I just went, ah. And then the bank robbery itself was decent. I felt that the camera was too locked down and still to really feel the amount of impact every time someone got shot. It might have been one of the few times where filming it in handheld might have actually made it more interesting, kind of like Michael Mann when he made Heat or Collateral. But the violence was still brutal without being over the top. There were a couple times where they cut every time someone gets hit or shot, and it looks a little choppy and watered down, but it's still just as gritty as our main character, especially what Tatiana Maslany goes through, because Kidman kicks the shit out of her, and she kicks the shit out of Kidman first, and it has some long-lasting consequences throughout the rest of the movie too. That I gotta be honest, when they clued in on that at the end, I didn't even notice it when it actually happened. So
yeah, no, I had to ask you. I'm like, this thing happened, but how did it happen? I know that she's experiencing this, but how did that come to play? I don't remember that.
yeah, a part of me wonders if they try to explain her alcoholism, where it's like she's so drunk or so disheveled already that she wouldn't have even noticed something like that. But I don't know. It was a little far fetched, but based on everything else that happens in the movie, I didn't really feel like
And I
questioning.
mean, the finale, everything just kept happening, and then the movie just ended. And I was like, good job. You just kept the momentum going there. So yeah, great
Yeah,
job.
it totally did.
Yeah, I will say that the final confrontation with Silas is exactly what the film needs it to be. It's not what I want it to be. It's what the film needs it to be. And I admire that. They wrote this from a place for the characters. They didn't write it to be a spectacle. They didn't write it to be like, look how cool we can do things. They're like, well, what's this character going to feel? And how is this character going to react? And character writing is something that's so rare to find, because everything's got to be, everything's got to hit the beats. I mean, look at Jurassic Park. They got to have the giant dinosaur. So it doesn't matter about the character. You got to get to the giant dinosaur, because that's why you're here, right? But with this, they're like, you know what? This character react this way. This would do this. This character would have a change of heart here. This is how they'd make that final kill. This is how the character would deal with it. It's a full character piece, and I appreciate that greatly. And I think what they did differently from The Invitation, and again, I did not dislike The Invitation. I think it had a lot of great ideas, and I'm glad we got it. But there were too many characters. This one has one or two characters in each scene, and they keep it simple. Whether she's talking to her husband, or her husband and her daughter, or she's talking to Petra, or she's talking to Silas or her partner. It's very simple. Two or three characters in each scene, minus a few flashbacks, and character-driven story. So I don't know what more you can ask for out of this movie.
Yeah, and the final scene between her and her daughter was phenomenal. That monologue could have stretched into Oscar bait territory. They could have started yelling at each other and made a scene, but instead they kept it much more subdued. The constant whispering that Kidman does, that usually makes her seem physically vulnerable. This was much more emotionally vulnerable. And it's almost like she's trying so hard to recollect the things that she wants to say to her daughter that she's struggling. But for once in the movie, her daughter can legitimately see that she's actually trying to do something right.
Yep. And we won't give away the ending here, but I think the ending is pitch perfect for this whole film.
Yeah, and again, it's the kind of ending that they showed right in front of us with no effort whatsoever.
We knew the ending already, but we just didn't know it was the ending, and that's how flawless it was. And I love when
the trailer shows the ending at the beginning and at the end. When I saw the movie and realized that the trailer gave away things, but it didn't. It wasn't very upfront about it. I just sat there and went, "You guys are really good at marketing too. I like that."
Yeah, it was. I did not watch the trailer because I didn't want to know. But if you say the trailer's good,
I'd seen it a few times. I didn't think it tells you what it's about, but it does, again, just like the movie, it doesn't tell you in what order specifically. All you know is that the movie goes back and forth.
Yeah, I think this movie literally is perfectly paced, perfectly written. I'm going to say the camera work. I like how still the camera work is, because it's showing Nicole Kidman's.
It's just that one sequence that I had a problem with. The rest of it's totally
I like
fine.
the sound design. I like the acting. I like the pacing. I like everything about this movie. This gets a 4.5 out of 5.
Ooh. Wow, you liked it more than me.
Nothing is perfect, so 4.5 is usually the highest I go.
I give it a 4 out of 5 just because there were a few side characters I wanted to know a little bit more about. That's still a problem that Kusama's facing, but at the same time, I like that she builds up suspense a lot better. I like that her flashbacks are more essential to the story, and they're segued in and out in a much more seamless fashion. I say that that's from her perspective, even though her husband and his writing partner are the ones writing the script. She just makes it look pretty and tells the actors exactly what to do. But she does her part super well. This might actually be my favorite movie of hers. And I was already thinking about The Invitation a lot. I know some people prefer Jennifer's Body based on everything else about it. Diablo Cody's script, Jennifer Fox, and Megan Fox, and Amanda Seyfried, among so many other things. But
is it Seyfried? Is it how do you say that? I mean, is Siegfried or Siegfried? I've never
It's
been able,
Seyfried, yeah.
okay, I've never been able to pronounce it, so that's why I asked.
No one can. I think I've learned this on Conan. Jake Gyllenhaal. That's not actually how you pronounce Gyllenhaal, but Gyllenhaal
Oh,
just sounds better. It's in Swedish. It's Gyllenhaal.
Gyllenhaal. I see. I didn't know that either. But I was looking at Catherine's thing. She just got a bunch of TV basically now. She's doing a ton of TV.
She had kind of done that before too.
Yeah, but not a lot of
movies. Like
movies
some
coming
new
up.
show or something.
Yeah, some other show she's doing a pilot, but I'm like, oh, she's got no movies announced. Well, that's a pity.
Something called Yellow Jackets. Oh, okay. She did The Outsider. That's not a huge shocker there.
But no, I just thought she'd have another movie on the forefront that she's working on that they would announce or something after she did The Invitation and this. Do you think she'd have enough of a following?
Well, the interesting thing is, she's actually working with Blumhouse right now to make a Dracula movie.
I mean, Dracula is hit and miss for me, so sure, knock it.
I'm not sure how she's going to do a modern day Dracula movie, kind of like how Chloe Zhao was going to do like a futuristic Dracula movie.
So robot Dracula or like alien Dracula?
I have no idea. As far as I know, it could be like vampires in the future or something like that.
I don't know. Vampires for me. I mean, ever since I like
in a Daybreakers type of way where it's just commonplace that they exist.
I like the original Dracula movies,
sure.
And then I like some of the 70s ones with Christopher Lee and stuff. And but like, I didn't mind. What was that one? Oh my goodness, Dracula with Gary Oldman and Keanu Reeves. It's okay. I'm not a big vampire guy. Because I mean, Keanu Reeves killed any hope they had for vampires for the next generation, because that's all people think of when they think of vampires. And I haven't seen a vampire movie. The only one that really brought me hope was What We Do in the Shadows, because it's Taika Waititi and it was funny and it was awesome. But like, you got to be really special to jump into the vampire genre at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, Kusama has such a unique perspective when it comes to filming her movies that I'd like to see what she does with this one. And with Jennifer's Body, she knows that she can do horror and monster movies.
I hope the gore is there, because you got to have gore with vampires.
Well, it's Blumhouse, so I can't imagine them going PG-13 for this. I can't see them thinking, well, teenagers, they got to see Dracula. There's nothing appealing about
teenagers. Teenagers are not begging for Dracula. They want happy. And
Blumhouse knows that they profit more off of R-rated movies. So I have a little more.
For me, has always been hit and miss. Like when they hit, they hit. And then when
they have Whiplash, they have Get Out, The Gift. And then they have shit like did I say The Hunt? Because I love The Hunt.
Fantasy Island.
Yeah, you know what? Every time they make a movie with Jeff Wadlow, fire Jeff Wadlow. He's not a good director. I mean, fuck.
And then The Purges are just overwhelmingly average.
I can't believe that's still a thing either.
And I don't know. They have the Insidious series, but then they also had the reboot of Halloween. Like, they're just so hit and miss, you know?
Insidious is
okay,
slightly above average.
But they gave us Upgrade, which we liked. So that's good.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, it's really just going to depend on.
Wait, hold on. If they did Upgrade, did they do Invisible Man too? Because those are both Lee Winnell.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they did Invisible Man. They also did Freaky. I didn't mind Freaky. I thought it was sort of fun. It was a fun little movie.
I still haven't seen it just because I feel like Vince Vaughn isn't enough to save it.
I really like Vince Vaughn. Me and the wife will sit down and watch Vince Vaughn movies. We even watched Couples Retreat, and we regret that one. But
my dad actually has a soft spot for Couples Retreat.
We really like Wedding Crashers. So we really like Wedding Crashers, and we like Swingers, and we just like Vince Vaughn.
Yeah,
I think he's a nice guy. I mean, is he the best actor?
I can't imagine you and your wife sitting through Concrete and loving Vince Vaughn. But...
Well, that's why I got through Cell Block 99, because I like Vince Vaughn. That's why I enjoyed it. I don't usually go for that, but I like Vince Vaughn, and I like seeing him doing something different.
Is it really that gross, though?
I mean, points.
Because I feel like Bone Tomahawk still has that scene. Because Bone Tomahawk has that scene that we'll never get out of our head.
There is one scene like Bone Tomahawk that you will never forget.
Because
but it's not.
I felt like Concrete was Zoller's most tame movie, which isn't saying much, but still.
But yeah, I like Vince Vaughn a lot. I think he's a cool dude. I saw him on
Oh, he
a
totally
cooking
is.
show, and I was like, I like his personality. Like he seems like a
I'm
nice
sorry,
guy.
what?
Yeah, he was on a cooking show Heather was watching. She watches a lot of cooking shows, so you know.
Was it on the Chef Show? Because that's
He
Favreau.
was
That would make a
also
lot
on
more
no,
sense.
not the chef show. It was another one. Anyway, but yeah, yeah, I like Destroy a lot, so that's my thoughts.
Well, I'm glad I forced you into this.
Yeah, this is not a movie I'd watch otherwise, so I'm really glad I got a chance to check it out because otherwise I wouldn't have seen this. And you were mentioning that you wish you would have seen it at TIFF, and I think this would have been really big.
Well, there's a lot of things I wish at TIFF to the point where when the submissions for it get announced this year, I'm looking over every single one of them just to be 110%.
Directors, writers, stars, just dive deep.
Yeah, and I even have a letterboxed prediction list on some stuff that I hope would make it in there. Like, for example, Lin-Manuel Miranda has his directorial debut with Tick Tick Boom, and that's supposed to be a Netflix release. And I'm kind of hoping they showed that one in theaters a little bit. I'm trying to remember what else I have on that list here. Let me see.
It's a musical. Okay.
Yeah, it's based off of a musical written by the same guy who wrote Rent.
Okay.
And he's unfortunately no longer with us. I think he passed away right before Rent because dude didn't have a lot of time left, but he unfortunately didn't know that either because doctors, even with all their technology, couldn't figure out what was going on with him.
I think 9 days potentially makes TIFF if it doesn't get released. If there's a delay, it would make TIFF for sure.
The one problem with that is that it was at Sundance first, and I don't know what the rights are with that. If 9 days does show up at TIFF, I'm definitely getting a ticket for that because that looks like an R-rated soul.
The one I hope shows up at TIFF, but I don't know, is The Night House.
What?
Have I showed you any of this? It's the one with the reverse house.
Rebecca Hall one?
Yes.
That comes out before the festival, so I don't know that that's going to happen.
And I think that they'll try to push Antlers as a midnight screening because it's Del Toro and he's big.
I would love if Antlers was a Midnight Madness one because Shadow in the Cloud was the only Midnight Madness one I got. And
I know
if you've been following our channels, you know how much we love Shadow in the Cloud.
Yeah, I think they try to push now Antlers.
Oh, there's one movie that could also be a Midnight Madness. Have you ever seen Cube?
That's the Canadian horror film, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They remade it in Japan.
What's it called?
Cube.
Oh, well,
for once, Japan is the country that remakes something. Weird, right?
You know, that's probably going to be more terrifying.
It could be. I mean, Cube, the acting was so bad that I just couldn't get into it. I love the concept, and there are some great sequences in there. And plus, it's not a cliched horror movie by any means. It's just, I didn't like how over the top it was.
I think they might try to put West Side Story at TIFF too, try to get some early Oscar buzz.
I would love if they did that. I'm willing to bet they'll put in the Sopranos prequel, Many Saints of Newark, which if they do, sign me up. I totally want to check that out.
So what do you think? I think West Side Story takes Best Original Song.
If they put in new songs,
put in new
I don't know if they're
guarantee Best Original Song because it's Spielberg, it's a musical. There's nothing else that's going to be that big this year.
I don't know. Like they'd have to, like I said, they'd have to throw in a new song, and I don't know if they're going to do that.
I don't know. Spielberg likes to do new things with his properties, so
true. But at the same time, he's never done a musical before.
That's true, but yeah.
Halloween Kills, that's going to be a Midnight Madness because the Halloween remake that was Midnight Madness the first year I went to, but I saw Predator instead. And chances are I probably should have just watched Halloween or Sparrow Creek because chances are those would have had more effort.
But I mean, to be fair, Predators or The Predator, the Robert Rodriguez one wasn't bad. So going into the new Predator, you thought it could be a cool entry in the franchise.
Well, I also thought Shane Black, who was a side actor in the original, would actually know what the fuck he was doing, but instead he makes it too similar to Nice Guys or Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which are great movies, but that's not what you associate with the Predator.
I do think that just looking at the release calendar here, I think that the 355 directed by Simon Kernberg starring Jessica Chastain, the action thriller, looks more
That
like
could
a
be.
drama. That could also be a TIFF movie as well.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that we would both like for French Dispatch to get in there.
Oh yes, just give us the damn movie. I know that Wes Anderson wants to debut in a movie theater, but you can't. You made the movie so long ago. Just give us the damn movie.
And look, movie theaters will be open by September, so it's not like you don't have a chance.
Just give us the movie. I want to see the weird quirkiness. That's all I want to
I'm hoping Edgar Wright's new one, Last Night in Soho.
Okay. What about would you want to see a re-release of the whatever that mockumentary he made was that comes out soon?
I thought it was already out. Because like I've seen reviews from friends of mine online who have seen it and really love it, even though they don't know anything about the band. But I don't know, maybe.
Is it a real band? I thought it was fake and made up. I thought it was like a mockumentary.
I think it's a real band. There are reviews saying even if you've never heard of these guys, you can tell that Edgar Wright has a lot of passion, and apparently his style, even in a documentary, is still there. Dear Evan Henson comes out in September, so I'm willing to bet they'll throw that in there. And I know nothing about Dear Evan Henson, so I'm going into this as blindly as possible.
That's the musical that I got wrong on another show.
I'm not. I swear I wasn't trying to be a dick by.
No, it's fine. No, I got it wrong.
The Last Duel, which is directed by Ridley Scott, and I think it's written by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, their first script since Good Will Hunting.
Oh, okay.
And it's a period piece, like some kind of epic sword duel type of film. It's something to do with revenge. I can't remember the exact specifics.
Another one we might see at TIFF was, oh my goodness, what was that movie? It comes out in September, late September. So it's Andrew Garfield. Oh my goodness, I'll get it here.
Is it that one where he's Logan Paul?
No, this is a thriller piece. I was talking to my boss, and he said this is one that we're getting. So if we're getting it, they're considering it The Eyes of Tammy Faye.
Oh, right. I forgot that was. Wait, that's coming out this year?
Yeah, it comes out in September.
Really?
So it could come to TIFF. So
for those who don't know, Jim and Tammy Faye Baker used to be like the televangelists in America. So as far as I think, Garfield is playing Jim and Jessica Chastain is Tammy Faye.
Yep.
I'm very curious how she's.
So this one here is on the radar for the Princess. So it's probably going to be at TIFF. Because if it's on the radar, it usually shows up at TIFF.
Oh, look. Will Smith has an Oscar bait movie again.
Ooh, what is it called?
It is called King Richard, where he plays Richard Williams, the tennis coach and father of Venus and Serena.
Let's go. I'm in.
So am I. It's from the guy who made Good Joe Bell that I saw last year, where Mark Wahlberg is the real life dad who went on an anti-bullying cross-country trip. And
I will watch Will Smith do anything. Let me be honest. I will watch him do anything. I saw Bad Boys for Life in theater and said yes. I saw Gemini Man and said, you know what?
I saw in
Not
2020.
that bad.
It was good. I didn't feel like reviewing it for whatever reason.
Another one that's probably going to be at TIFF is Beans.
Which one's? I've heard of it. I don't know what it. I can't remember.
It's based upon the standoff. It's a 78-day standoff between the Mohawk community and the government in Quebec in 1990. It's a true.
Oh, they played that. They played that at TIFF already.
Yeah, but it hasn't fully. From what I understand, it hasn't fully been released in theaters and everything. So like, there's still a chance it may make another sort of Oscar run.
It's completely possible. Those
are the ones that like are hitting my like mini radar. I'm like, oh, those. It
would be amazing if they put Dune on there, but chances are they're not going to.
I would love to see Dune at TIFF. That would be a great TIFF movie. It would be perfect. Yeah,
and I'm kind of wondering. There's a new movie from Park Chan-wook, the same guy who made Old Boy, The Handmaiden, The Sympathy for Lady Vengeance. He has a new one called Decision to Leave, about a detective who falls in love with a suspect that he's tailing. So very similar to The Handmaiden, where there's an erotic thriller with some mystery elements to it. The
Okay.
Handmaiden is on my radar just because of how
Yeah, we
much
do have to
people
watch The
love it.
Handmaiden. I keep seeing this and I seen the poster and everyone tells and like every recommendation, every genre I like, it says watch The Handmaiden. I'm like, what is happening here?
Yeah, I'm very curious. I'm worried that they're hyping it up a little too much, but
I don't know a darn thing about this movie, so I don't know what we're hyping. All I've seen is the poster. That's all I know.
I found out that this what I'm about to say next comes out in September, and I'm willing to bet they might throw it in there just for the hell of it. They made a Clifford the Big Red Dog movie.
Huh.
I don't know how to feel about that
That
one.
already came out like a long time ago.
There was one that came out when we were kids, but nobody saw it because nobody really wanted one. If I'm being
Wait, who was
completely
that? Was it
honest.
like Elizabeth was the person who took care of the giant red dog?
Emily Elizabeth? Yeah. So like, yeah, they made a movie and they throw in some celebrity voices like John Goodman and Wayne Brady as this, I don't know, traveling circus or whatever. And I think Clifford considers joining because he thinks Emily Elizabeth doesn't love him anymore.
Oh
And
my
that's stupid
goodness.
shit.
Oh, I'm just looking at this now. Like they got all the dogs from the cheesy cartoon in this. The big dog
Hey,
looks
that
so
was my
fake.
childhood there. Be careful on
Was
that.
it Cleo was the Chihuahua?
Yeah, the Chihuahua, and Kel Mitchell was the yellow little one. I can't remember what kind of dog he was.
No, but Clifford looks so something else. It's like an alien.
No, he doesn't.
It's just
Or are
it's
you
like
looking
a
at the
golden
live
retriever
action
dyed
one?
red.
Or wait, are you looking at the live action one or the
Yeah, the one that
cartoon?
you said is coming out in September. They have like a
Oh,
picture
okay.
of it.
Yeah, it does.
No,
It does
no,
look
I'm just like I'm looking at this thing. This is like what the heck?
and the casting is weird. I like a lot of the actors who are in it, but at the same time, I'm wondering how desperate they are to just live their childhood or something like that.
Okay, I'm worried about this movie. So the director is from the director of Old Dogs, Wild Hogs, Van Wilder. The writer is from
Fuck.
Baywatch, Norbit, National Security, and I Spy. Those are the writers.
Fuck.
So that gives me very little lack of confidence. Who's this thing
Yeah.
produced by? Yeah, no, that does not sit well with me.
No, my God.
Who's playing Elizabeth? Darby Camp. Okay, she was in Big
I've
Little
never
Lies.
seen
That was a
Christmas.
show people like.
Yeah,
Child
she was
actor.
fine in that. I didn't see Christmas Chronicles, so I don't really know for sure.
Again, she's a kid. I can't do too much.
She was in a Benji reboot. They rebooted Benji,
Of
really?
course, they rebooted Benji.
Oh,
for money.
fuck's sake.
I'm gonna go to my IMDb Pro, and I'm really curious to see who's producing this thing because that's gonna be like the deciding factor for me.
Well, one of their names is Jordan Kerner, who made the original George of the Jungle, the Broderick Inspector Gadget. Ah, damn it.
We are in for a pile of shit.
And the Smurfs.
Oh no.
Fuck.
No.
You know what? This might be a so bad it's good one. For
Okay,
September.
that's fair.
We might have to eat some things that aren't allowed in the theater to enjoy it.
Oh,
but
here it's from the cinematographer of The Rundown and The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was fine, but
the cinematography did not stand out.
Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties.
Oh no.
I have no idea what Meat Bill is. Chipmunks. Oh my God, this guy was the cinematographer for the director's.
Okay, here's some hope. The editor did Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow and Doctor Strange and Fried Green Tomatoes and Charlotte's Web. So there is some decent cinemas here. That's
I don't know
correctly.
about Sky Captain getting.
I love that movie
there, but
at least they tried to edit it like a movie.
Yeah, and not gonna lie, I don't mind some of the casting here. Jack Whitehall as Emily Elizabeth's uncle. I love Jack Whitehall. He's a really fucking funny guy.
Who he is.
There's a British show called Bad Education that's basically an R-rated AP Bio and is significantly funnier than AP Bio. But
all right,
it makes it look like Emily Elizabeth is an orphan in this, which really we have to do that too.
Hey, I just want the movie to not suck. That's sort of what we're after here.
It looks like the only good thing we're gonna get out of this is John Cleese as the author of the book, who is a magical animal rescuer in this movie.
Can we make him the uncle? Because I want more John Cleese.
That would be interesting. I don't know how they got Russell Peters in this, because Russell Peters is not a movie guy, but
Tony Hale's in this. Okay.
No, I can't do that.
Tony Hale's all right. He always, one thing about Tony Hale is he always gives it 110%, whether you like it or not. He always is committing to every role.
Have you seen Love, Simon? That was not a 110% worthy.
I like him. I saw him in Chuck recently, so
Figures.
I like what he does there.
See, when I saw Kenan Thompson and Rosie Perez in this, I thought that they were going to be Cleo and the other dog that I can't remember, because Kenan's best friend Kel was that other dog in the cartoon, and Rosie Perez does sound like she could be Cleo. She's got the voice for it.
Oh, it's a bulldog, right?
I think so.
I really want to know what that other dog is called.
All I remember is that he's the sheriff's pet, but that's almost never addressed.
T-Bone.
T-Bone, thank you.
T-Bone, yeah.
Of course, his name's T-Bone. How did I
forget the blue one?
I watched this so much as a kid.
I always liked T-Bone. He was
the blue one was
dog.
A douche.
I mean, yeah, but he's fun.
It's like his bitch of an owner.
I watched this growing up, and I always thought it was nice. I don't know if it needs a live action movie, though. I'm going to be honest. I feel like
and I can't tell what it's based off of. Is it based off of just the books? Because the books didn't have a lot.
No, they didn't.
If anything, the John Ritter version that we watched as a kid had a lot more to work off of. When I heard that John Cleese was in this, I thought he was going to be Mr. Bleakman, the angry next door neighbor, because that would have been gold.
Hell, make him Clifford the dog.
No, that wouldn't have worked.
But yeah, the casting crew sort of worries me a bit here from their previous experience.
Who was Paul Rodriguez? I don't know the. Okay, this is not helping me out.
So yeah, if this is at TIFF, this is gonna bomb hard.
See, I thought TIFF having Abominable at 2019. I thought that was a real stretch. Yeah,
Abominable. We'll give Abominable. It was really, really cute. It had some good animation, but it didn't do anything new to the genre. It wasn't bad by any means. It just wasn't amazing. It was average.
That was the thing that turned me off. I get what they were going for, but it also felt a little too much like E.T. It looked gorgeous, and there were one or two jokes in the trailer that got me. They're the same studio that ended up making Over the Moon last year for Netflix.
Yeah.
And like they're a predominantly Chinese studio, so I do like that they're putting movies in that era or in that culture. It's just the fact that they're ripping off stories that are so iconic in American cinema anyways, that it just feels like they're trying to be a carbon copy as opposed to trying to make their own thing. It feels awful to say, but I mean, they're not doing a good job at convincing me otherwise.
I liked Abominable enough. Didn't blow my mind, but I thought it was really nice.
I don't think it was supposed to blow anyone's minds, granted, so maybe I'm being a little hard on that, but
I just think every movie should try to excel in its genre and be the best it can be.
But yeah, as you can tell, folks, this Clifford revelation is kind of what a lot of people felt when Tom and Jerry came out this year.
I did not even see that.
I saw bits, and wow, there's fucking awful kids movies, and then there's this.
I'm curious to see who made the Tom and Jerry movie. Tim Story. He did
the same guy who did the Barbershop movies, the Fantastic Fours. I'm trying to remember what else.
Oh, interesting. Really? So Tim Story is announced to make Ride Along 3 here. And Monopoly the movie. The movie centers on a boy from the game's modest Baltic Avenue on a quest to make a fortune.
Okay, time out. I thought he was going to adapt Corduroy Bear.
Oh, don't you dare ruin Corduroy Bear. That is awesome. He's cool.
That's another cartoon that has a lot more than the books do.
Okay, who is asking for a Monopoly movie?
I don't know. The same dipshits who asked Jeff Wadlow to make a Magic 8-Ball movie.
That's a thing.
A couple of years ago, it was. I don't know if it still is.
Oh my goodness. Why would you make a Monopoly movie? Why? Like, what do you even do for a story?
You advertise shit. It's Adam Sandler 101.
So product placement. Yay.
Eh,
I feel like the Tom and Jerry movie could have been good because Michael
Well,
Pena
yeah,
is a good, and Chloe Grace Moretz can give a good performance if she wants to. I've determined that she
Yeah.
stopped wanting to give good performances. You said Shadow in the Clouds and Tom and Jerry back to back. So here we are.
that both try to have something important to say.
And
There's a
I
scene
get
in
that
Tom
she
and-
had I get that she had a lot of bad roles when she was a kid and she didn't like what she did with her career, and she's trying to do more mature things and basically pick roles that she thinks that aren't like trying to put her in her place, so to speak. But you have to pick good movies if you're going to do that. Go indie, go full indie. You can't go big blockbuster and do these things.
I'm guessing like after Miseducation of Cameron Post, that probably would have been the better decision for her.
Yeah, because I mean, look at what Robert Patterson is doing. So many indie movies. He did Good Time
He's
and
still doing
Lighthouse,
big budget
and then
stuff.
they gave him Tenet. And
well,
then
here's the thing: he's
people
still doing
appreciated
big
him.
budget stuff, but he's being very careful about it.
Oh yeah.
Because
Oh,
like he flat out
goodness.
says he hates franchise movies because, well, he knows what it's like.
Yeah, Colin Jost is in Tom and Jerry. That's the Saturday Night Live anchor.
Yeah, he's
from
the dude with the
Weekend
porn
Update.
stash, and he's just as boring in Tom
Ken
and Jerry.
Jeong
as
is in
there.
this. Oh my goodness, I feel sorry for you having to watch any of this.
I couldn't take it seriously when Bobby Cannavale is that bulldog from the Tom and Jerry cartoon. And I'm not
Okay.
kidding. I was watching the Stuckman review, and Michael Pena is forced to walk him, and the whole bit is him taking a shit in the middle of a street during like a crosswalk. That's the fucking joke.
What do you think Michael Pena is trying to do with his career? That's my question. I think he's headed towards like a Sam Jackson level of doing everything.
Well, a part of me wants to hope that half of the actors in Tom and Jerry just did it because they have kids and they don't make movies
Oh,
that their
that's
kids
fair.
can watch. I mean, why do you think Trey Parker was in Despicable Me 3 other than he had a 4-year-old at the time? Or Matthew
Yeah.
McConaughey in Sing because
I like Sing. I really do. I think I like it. It's a cute little movie. I own it. I like it.
or Judi Dench in Home on the Range. She had to have done that for her.
Oh yeah,
grandkids.
for some sort of kids. But Michael Pena's discography, I'm just looking at this. You've got My Little Pony the movie, Lego Ninjago, Ant-Man and Wasp, Extinction, The Mule, Dora the Explorer, Fantasy Island, Tom and Jerry, and Narcos Mexico in like the last 5 years. Like, what a diverse catalog.
It's hit and miss. That's for
And
sure.
then like before that, you got like Chips and like The Martian, and just like there's so many
I
things.
still haven't forgiven him for Chips because
Oh, Chips is bad. You know who I blame?
Max Shepard.
Yes, Dax Shepard is to blame for Chips because he really wanted to do that.
Why? I'm not entirely sure. You'd think after Hit and Run, he wouldn't have learned his lesson.
I mean,
but
have you seen the original Chip show at all? Have you got a chance to watch that?
I've seen little bits. I know more because Colin Mockery on Whose Line liked to make a lot of Eric Estrada jokes once in a while.
Yeah, it's a 1 hour cop procedural from the 80s where they drive bikes around and they make quips and they stop some bad guy from speeding, or like some guy's smuggling something out of the county and they got to stop him before he hits the county line. The show is not going to blow your mind, but it's better than the movie.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, I mean, the show at least tried to have character development. It's not the best show in the world.
I think Dax Shepard just wanted to ride a motorcycle in a movie.
It's one of the more interesting shows because they changed cast because Eric Estrada hated everyone on the planet for some reason. Oh my goodness, who is that? The gender person, Kendall. Oh my goodness. The Wheaties.
What?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to get the name right here. In the 5th season, they had what's his name? Yeah, they had Caitlyn Jenner in the 5th season as a main character.
Okay.
Yeah, That's when, you know, the Wheaties was running out and they had to act. I'm not kidding
Interesting
you.
choice.
And I mean, the fourth and
I
fifth
didn't know
season
she
of
could
that
act.
show completely jumped the shark and replaced the main star with the other guy, and basically take him out because Eric Estrada didn't like him because he thought he wasn't getting enough storylines to himself and he was selfish and he was the big star. So the other guy left because he just didn't like him.
Damn.
So I mean, yeah, but the Chips movie is bad. But oh yeah. I'm looking forward to TIFF. So
yeah, and I don't know if you with your membership got that email that showed all the dates and whatnot, but
I probably did. I just haven't looked at my email in a couple days.
It's nothing major. I don't think I've never bought packages or anything like that, but apparently it's not that long before we can. Like getting individual tickets is going to take a while for us.
So we just buy a large chunk and get a bunch of them.
I would, yeah, but I've never done the packages thing. I'd have to look it up and
we can take a look into that. But yeah, lots of but Lion.
I love that this is half a double feature. And
you know what? This is the Josh and Tyler show. We do what the hell we want. We talk about TIFF. We talk about Clifford the Big Red Dog and how much we love Jennifer's body. Anyway, Tyler, where can we find you there after this Lion Destroyer upgrade?
So you can find a link to my most recent video in the description below where I have my review up for A Quiet Place Part 2, our first theatrical experience of 2021. It was awesome. And judging by some updates by the same theater that we went to, that might not be our last one recently. We might have to work that part out a little bit.
Oh, they got In the Heights, don't they?
I was talking about Nobody because that was originally going to be our first theatrical experience.
Yeah, we wanted to see that, but Quiet Place 2 wasn't bad. Check out Tyler's review. I like his intro. I like it very much.
I had to do it. There was just no other way.
It's on the same level as the first one, I would say. I like them both equally. I think they both have really great aspects and they're very solid filmmaking.
Yeah, and as I said before, I keep going back and forth from it's just as good to maybe a peg above it. It depends on the day, really. And after Luca, I'm kind of wondering which movie I had more fun with because there are things in Luca that piss me off a little bit more, but there are also things I enjoyed slightly a bit more.
Yes, check out that review from Tyler there. Check out everything on Sharp Edge Cinematics. Our new show will be starting next week. Archerverse. If you like Archer, we're talking about Archer because we like Archer. That's our new show. Otherwise, check out all our same shows. Saving Grace is still up. Check that out. Etc. Etc. Lots of good stuff. Thanks for joining us on the Josh and Tyler show. And Tyler, say something awesome.
I love Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Is that the theme song? I don't remember.
That's how the theme song ends. I don't remember the rest.
Well, you know what? That's good enough for me.